Hi, I'm Greg Lassiter. Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. We have a great show for you this week. And again, we're still talking about Black History Month. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And so the first person I want to invite up is our comptroller, our New York City comptroller, Scott Stringer.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody, and I want to start out by thanking Councilmember Carlina Rivera for keeping hope alive and making sure that this issue stays in the forefront. But here's the bottom line. 20 years ago, Mayor Giuliani basically destroyed Charas and created an opportunity for a private speculator developer to take this property. Right. It's going to take another mayor to change this and do the right thing. We need Mayor de Blasio to keep his word. He knows what's happened here. He knows that we now are in a very dangerous situation in this community, and we have to do the right thing. So after I leave here, I want to make a commitment to Carlina and every advocate. I am going to meet with the mayor to have a budget briefing. We are going to sit with each other, one-on-one, and the first thing I'm going to say to him is you came to a community and made a bold promise, and we are ready to work with you to make sure we protect this property, and by extension, we protect this community. Nothing is more important right now than protecting this building and giving back to the people who stayed and fought to transform the Lower East Side over generations, and that's why we're fighting today. Thank you very much.
All right, I'd like to invite up our Manhattan Borough President, Gail Brewer. Thank you very much, Council Member, and all the amazing council members who came before you, and the amazing Lower East Side. Mayor de Blasio, if there's one opportunity that is perfect for eminent domain, it is Charas. One opportunity for eminent domain, it is this building. We talk about eminent domain. Here is a great example. I think that this community needs art, culture, a place. This entire borough of Manhattan is overrun with real estate developers who do not care about community. We don't have much city-owned land left. This would be a place to do the kinds of support that have gone on in the past and that would make this community proud. There are so many places where artists need to be, and this is a perfect example. Yes. I can't imagine a better location. So it would make I was in the room at that town hall meeting that Councilmember Rivera mentioned when the mayor promised that he would Charas make it whole for the community. Yes, there have been discussions, but there has not been any real action, and now we have a situation where the building is falling apart. So I'm here just like everybody else. Whatever Mayor Giuliani did in the past and whatever he's doing now doesn't matter. You are the mayor. You are the mayor. And it is absolutely necessary to make this building part of what a community process would be in terms of making it what the community wants. So we are calling on you. There's nothing else to be said except you have the power to get rid of Greg Singer. Go let him do whatever he's going to do else. We don't want dorms here. We want this to be a community facility. Thank you very much.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Look, bro, guys, when you watch it, when you see the two-shot, we didn't plan this.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
So today is the voting day in New York. We're voting for public advocate.
Correct. Correct.
And there's 20 people on the ballot.
Yeah, I already voted.
Yeah, I voted too. Yeah, I voted as well. I voted at 7 o'clock this morning.
I voted right before I came in. I knew who I was going to vote for. More importantly, I knew who I wasn't going to vote for.
Right.
There was a lot of people I didn't know who the hell they were.
Right. I didn't know 18 of them.
I knew like 3 or 4 of them.
I knew Jumani. Was it Jumani?
Of course, I knew Jumani.
Jumani was.
Jumani has made sure he'd be known.
Right.
I knew the woman from Spanish Harlem.
Yeah, knew her too. Yeah.
Melissa Mark Viverito.
Right. Right.
I didn't know the little young white girl, but she talks a mile a minute.
Right.
You know.
She's a true New Yorker.
So I'll know her next time.
Right.
You know.
But in all likely, Jumaane Williams will win. I would think.
I'm thinking that.
But this post right here is only for another year. They got to vote again, right?
I don't see anybody usurping his title.
Right.
He would have to do something awful.
Right.
Awful.
Because he's taking, what's her name's place, the Attorney General. Because she was
Yes.
I can't remember her name. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
she blazed the trail for Cuomo.
Right.
Brought Cuomo into Harlem and got the
But Nat, she's still not in.
the gang.
She thinks she's in. She thinks she's still part of the group.
She's in a world that she is not really equipped to understand.
Not only that, she has no alliances.
Upstate politics is completely different from downstate politics.
Totally. Like,
She's not. She's
I don't think she's
not-
equipped.
She's smart.
She's very smart.
I don't, and she's a good politician. She's a pragmatist. I don't see that position benefiting black people.
Not at all. I think it's going to be more like what Kamala Harris did in California.
Oh my God!
You know?
Oh my God!
You know?
That's a frightening thought.
But you know what? She put so many people of color in jail more than any attorney general in the state of California.
Yeah.
So how I sense that.
She's never admitted to being black
No.
until recently, because she thinks that being the colored girl in the field can get her the black vote.
But she won't get the black vote. First of all, she went on. I don't know if you saw that advertisement. She says, "I was smoking weed, listening to Biggie and Tupac in '86."
Yeah, she's going all out to try to get
the only
black people to vote for.
But the only problem with that, Biggie and Tupac didn't come until the '90s.
But the only problem with that is that she's insulting the very voting base that she's trying to access. She's trying to convince people that she's black enough.
Right.
If you black and gotta convince people that you black
You've lost.
enough,
You've lost.
You
You've
gotta
lost.
convince
You've lost.
black people that you black enough.
You've lost.
You have a big problem.
But she doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. I think if Biden gets in the picture, he's going to be the nominee. Because you look.
I do too. I
don't know why Bernie is running.
And I think I don't see Bernie either. I think if a woman has a chance, I think that woman would be Klobuchar, right? The one from Minnesota, right.
But the only problem with that, you can't pronounce her name.
But she has all the qualities. There's a comfort. She's a woman.
Right.
She's a white woman, so there's a comfort zone. She doesn't scare the hell out of white men. She's not.
You think Hillary
overly, Hillary's scared. Hillary scared the hell out of Bill. Everybody's scared of Hillary. That's right.
Notice she's been quiet too.
She been knocked off of her perch. She thought she was
shoo-in.
She thought she was Cersei Lannister.
Right. But the sad part of it is that I think she's still trying to figure out what happened.
Well, I can tell her what happened.
I don't think put it like this. I don't think she believed what happened.
Hillary, I know Cersei Lannister. You are no Cersei Lannister.
But I got to tell everybody, you have to get out and vote.
Yeah.
You have to. voting is a right. You should take. I don't care who you vote for. We have to change.
Let me say this about voting because I only missed one election in my life. That was the first opportunity I had to vote.
Was it Reagan?
No, Nixon.
Nixon?
Nixon
Why'd
in
you miss that?
72. Because I was straight out the street and wasn't prepared for it, and I had just turned 21 that year.
Right.
I turned 21 July of that year. I voted in 76 for Carter.
Yeah,
so
I voted for Carter, too.
4 years later.
And can you believe I voted for Reagan?
Yeah, I can believe you voted for Reagan.
I voted for Reagan. I was a businessman.
Well, not only that, Reagan was a shrewd politician.
He was very.
Reagan brought James Brown to the White House.
Right.
He wasn't. I mean, he wasn't a knucklehead. No. His downfall was his hubris.
Yep.
You know, he thought he was the cat's meow and just got too big for his britches.
He thought he was it.
He didn't.
So did Nixon.
Well, politics, media. All of it where you're dealing with billions of dollars is a den of thieves and opportunists, and if someone sees you down, they're gonna join in. It's it's like you know.
Let me kick him too. Let me get some.
Et tu, Brutus? Why not, Caesar? Everybody else sticking your ass. You ain't gonna leave
Let me get
here.
some.
I ain't gonna make enemies out of these people. You see what they did to you? But I honestly believe that I made the right choice with Jimmy Carter, but the choice I made was a lucky choice.
Right.
Because I didn't know anything about anyone at the time I voted.
Well, you come a long way, huh?
Well, yes.
You come a long way.
Yes. You have to learn the political system, and you have to make it work for your circumstances.
Right. First, the operable word there, Nat, is that you have to learn the political system well.
Correct.
A lot of people don't know. It's a very complex system, but it's not hard to figure out.
I mentioned this before. I watch the Geographic, National Geographic, the Nature Channel, those channels with the animals, right? And voting is like something I saw on that channel. There was a deer who was being chased by a pack of African dogs.
Right.
And he was outrunning the dogs, but the dogs have stamina.
Right.
And sooner or later they're going to catch him. And they were closing the gap. And the deer gets to the bank of the river. Right. He goes into the river. Right. Well, there's alligators in the river, but the dogs are on his ass.
Right.
So you have to make a choice, because there's alligators in the river, but it's a big-ass river.
Right. So
and the odds are the alligator is not going to get you.
Right.
If it gets you, it gets you. But the dogs are right here,
so
now.
They're going to get you.
You have to make a decision. What you going to do? You going to deal with the dogs on your ass, or you going to take a chance in the river?
That is a great analogy, bro.
The river thing was a good decision in terms of alligators.
Right.
The only thing, it only bought him a little time because a couple of the dogs, not all of the dogs, most of the dogs were stupid-ass dogs. But there was a couple of dogs, because there was a river bank circled around the bank of the river and waited for his ass on the other side. There's only a couple of dogs. A couple of dogs.
They figured that out.
Right, they figured it out. Now, at the least, he got to live a little bit longer.
Right.
If all the dogs were dumbasses, he'd have got to live another day.
Right.
You know, that is voting. You're not voting for the lesser of two evils.
Right. That's
You're
good, though.
dealing with whatever is on your ass at the time.
That is a great analogy.
Right.
That is a great analogy, right?
You know.
Right. So, yeah, see, voting, New York, even voting in New York
Right.
is different.
Correct.
We got a whole different politics
Correct.
in our city versus on the national level.
Correct.
Because even voting is political,
Correct.
you know?
Correct. Correct.
Voting
Correct.
is very political because depends on where you live. You live in the Lower East Side,
Right.
East Village.
Right.
That's a whole horse of another color.
Right.
I live on the Upper East Side.
Right.
Horse of another
Right.
color. East Harlem.
Right.
So you have to figure that game out.
What they were talking about in that clip, one of the reasons I ran that clip was, and it was like a week or so ago,
Right.
that clip was shown. There's this school building that has been the center of the fight against gentrification in Alphabet City,
Right.
For decades
Right.
now, since the 80s, since Armando Perez was alive, and as a matter of fact, I did most of the documentaries. Some of the documentaries I
Right.
shot are in the Puerto Rican Museum because I shot the last
Right.
interview with Armando Perez. I shot the last appearance. And it was about Charis of the legendary poet Pedro Pietre.
Right, Pedro,
I
right.
shot that.
Right. Oh, shit, that's good.
His language, it was right around the time of Vieques, and
Right.
his language was spicy, and I mean real spicy, you know, because he was saying get the F out of Vieques, you MF. And one of the speakers that day was C. Virginia Fields, and you could see her like, ooh, my God. So I've been dealing with this quite a while.
Right.
And like I said, they're still fighting about Charis because Rudy Giuliani cut deals to get a gigantic a piece of property
That is
in an
crazy.
upper-coming, and he sold it for $1 million.
Yes, right.
He sold it for $1 million.
Yeah. He's a little snake. He's a snake.
It was a snaky thing
He's
to
a
do.
snake. He's a snake in that.
But he underestimated the power of the people.
Right.
Because you're talking about decades later,
Right.
and they still have not been able to develop it.
Right.
Develop it.
Which is crazy because, like, all Puerto Rico itself.
Right.
They were already decimated by, not just by the storms, but before the storms came along, they still had issues. They have a high crime rate. Unemployment is almost crazy.
The biggest issue is money. and
Large debt.
And when there it is. You're talking vulture capitalism.
Right.
The stuff that they're doing to Venezuela is really no different from the stuff they try to do to me.
Right.
Let me tell you how white folks. Let me tell you white
Here we
folks
go.
plan. Let me
Here we
tell you
go.
white folks plan. You know, because I come up the hard way. White folks got a knack, and they basically doing the same thing to Venezuela. They make sure the man can't make a buck.
Right.
They make sure dad can't make a buck.
Right.
You know, especially if dad is black. They won't let dad be able to find a job,
Right.
have opportunity,
Right.
anything,
Advance. Yeah.
advance.
Right.
However, they will put moms on welfare.
Right. That's crazy. And this
No,
is
that's ingenious. Because what happens when moms is on welfare and dad can't make a buck?
They
You have
control
a
you.
house in chaos.
Yep.
You have
Yep,
a house
that's-
where nobody respects dad, where
right.
dad is is violent,
Right.
violently angry,
And drinking.
and
And,
drinking,
drugs,
doing whatever,
right.
whatever it is to like make
makes-
it from one
right,
day to the
next.
other.
That's right. That's right.
So you have a house totally in chaos.
Wow. Designed.
Design. you end up driving out dad. You end up driving out the person whose job it is
to take care
of the family, take care of his children. Nobody respects him.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah. He
Nobody.
doesn't even respect himself at this
He
point.
doesn't respect himself. You've
That's
broken his spirit.
Right.
You've broken his freaking spirit.
That is crazy. And the United States had something to do with that.
The United States, well, it's the same thing with Venezuela.
Right.
You take a country that has everything it needs to prosper.
So they were self-supporting.
Right. More than self-supporting.
Right.
When you take out European colonialism,
Right. That's right.
and if you just allow them to get back to being who they are, you find out that they have so many resources.
It's unbelievable.
Dutch shell oil.
Right.
Is the one that cut off all avenues they had to have more than one viable commodity that was oil.
But the United States is trying to get that.
But Venezuela, by definition historically, is an agrarian society.
That's right.
Which means they can grow their own food.
Yep.
They have gold up the wazoo, and they have oil. If you add education, you have suddenly turned a country filled with indigenous people, because you know what happens when indigenous people get a piece of anything on their own. You know, they'll make some money selling letting you play cards and selling you cigarettes.
Right, that's exactly it.
So you give them oil and gold,
right.
and all the food they can grow.
Right, that's right.
And Hugo Chavez, when Hugo Chavez was elected, and that's another thing I hate, whenever they talk about Venezuela, they never actually give you any context. And they don't give you any history. They don't give you any data, any facts. They just keep saying Maduro is a bastard, and people are eating out the garbage.
Which is crazy.
It's BS.
It's just bizarre. It's bizarre.
It's BS. Like I said, I was in Venezuela for the elections, specifically for the elections.
They're very sophisticated when it comes to elections too.
It's very sophisticated, and you can't shoot video in Caracas where the backdrop is all messed up. It ain't like shooting video in Haiti.
Right.
You know, I mean, you got to ride so far. The UN got to escort you to a resort somewhere on the outskirts, you know, just to have some place that don't look like hell in Haiti.
That's
everything
scary.
Scary. Haiti is a country where unless you come by cruise ship, there's no way you can get from point A to point B without going through squalor and hell.
And it's crazy because I've been to Haiti. It's the most scariest place I've ever been in my life. Not from a violent standpoint, but the way they lived.
They have destroyed the economy of Haiti. First of all, Haiti was an agrarian society. They clear-cut all the trees so that the water washes away all the topsoil, so you can't grow anything. Then they compounded that by making Haiti, in order to get a loan, making them sign an agreement with the World Bank that they could not grow their own food.
That is crazy, but
But that's how the World Bank operates, and the World Bank is under the control of the United States of America.
That's exactly right.
The United States of America controls the World Bank. All the heads of the World Bank just about forever have been from the United States of America.
So they will starve you to death if you didn't play
They will starve you to death. They will starve you to death. So what did you have when the price of rice went up? They couldn't grow their own rice. You've destroyed their way of growing their own food, destroyed that.
That's crazy.
And the only place you can buy food is from white folks. And sooner or later, the price is going to go up.
White
folks like to raise prices.
Gouging. They're gouging. They really gouge.
That's what Puerto Rico is suffering from. Puerto Rico, by way of capitalism, Puerto Rico did everything y'all want them to do, but they couldn't get around the vulture capitalism.
The debt killed them.
The debt killed them. The debt killed them.
But you got to blame the politicians for that. Because
who puts the politics? Who put Baby Doc and Papa Doc
people.
in Haiti?
The
No.
No,
America,
America did.
the
Yeah, America
United
did.
States
Yep.
of America.
Because they could control him.
Freaking Rockefeller.
That's right. That's
they
right.
went over there and they took all of the Caribbean. That's the Monroe Doctrine. They
Right,
took
right,
all
right.
of the
That's right. That's
Caribbean.
right. That's right.
This
You're
is
right.
our stuff. You know, so when
Right.
you hear them talk about on TV about our hemisphere,
Right.
this
This
is
is
the
different.
Monroe Doctrine.
Right, that is
Any
right.
place that indigenous people or brown people live
right.
on this side of the world belongs to us.
Right,
I
that's
want
right.
all of y'all
And they-
to get it through your head.
They did. They pillaged and stole
That's right.
everything.
That's right.
To
That's
the
right.
point where Haiti could not come back. Haiti still couldn't come back.
Haiti,
from-
I don't see how Haiti can
No, they can't come back. I don't see how Puerto Rico's going to come back. Puerto
Yeah.
Rico's not going to come back either.
I don't see. There's two things. There's when we talk about the transatlantic slave trade. You have to understand the transatlantic slave trade. They would go to Africa and get black people and deposit those people. And this is
Still black
2019.
people.
This is the literal 400th year of slavery
Yep.
in America.
Right.
Because African slaves landed in South Carolina in 1619.
Right, right,
So
right.
it's exactly 400 years in America. It's,
Right.
it's 100 years or so longer than that when you
Right.
talk about the Caribbean.
Right.
But what they use for money is they would take the sugar. That's why Puerto Rico is still making rum. This is
right.
all byproducts of the slave
Right,
era.
that's right.
They would take the sugar cane from tropical islands
Right.
and turn that into rum. Then go sell the rum to
To the
Great
people.
Britain
Right,
and
right,
stuff like that.
right,
Take
right.
the money from selling the rum,
Right.
and then go get
And
get the
pe-
ships and get more slaves.
Right,
So
right.
it was a
So
whole
yeah.
right. It was
That's
a whole
crazy.
circle.
But you know what? Look at Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, that's the only thing they got going on right now. Is Bacardi.
But you've taken all of these islands. All of these islands, when you talk about, if you look in biblical terms,
Right.
all of these islands are the paradise that you're talking about.
Right. But you look at the Caribbean, though. The Caribbean is British rule.
And this is also the main knock. Colonialism.
Ism.
But it's not a country. It's not the culture of a country.
Right, right.
It's a European thing.
Right,
All
totally.
European countries. So you'd expect like a country to
Right.
do this.
No, but you got one country that's
right,
taking over
right.
the whole
Right.
Caribbean.
Right. But you're not talking about a country. You're talking about the whole continent, wherever
Right.
white folks are. And
Right.
there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. This is the thing about research. The more you research, you get an answer, but the answer demands a question.
Right, exactly.
How did this happen?
Right. How did it get there?
Right, right.
Because when you're doing your research,
Right.
you look at the you look at
Right,
you look at it and you go
right,
like,
right.
okay, let me look a little
Right,
bit further,
right,
because I
right,
want to see
right, right.
how did this come about.
Correct.
Then you'll
correct,
find. Then when you go
correct,
further,
correct,
then you got. Then
correct.
there's another.
And
It's a process.
That's the mind-blowing
Right.
situation. You keep
When you keep going,
getting
then you-
your mind blown every time you go further back.
But when you keep going that, and you find out at some place, you go, what happened? You still. The
And
question
that's
is still.
the thing. You know what happened? Two things happened. A bunch of things happened. The first thing that happened was Greece, and it was not Greece, because they always started with Greece, but it's
Right.
not Greece that started it.
Right,
Civilization. It's Greece's proximity to northern Africa.
That's exactly.
Not just Egypt,
Right.
but we're talking about Morocco, Tunisia,
Right.
Cote d'Ivoire,
Right.
all of North Africa. Is the reason why Greece prospered so much and became the mecca of civilization for
Right.
Europeans.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And then another thing happened. Greece was taken over by Rome.
Right. Right.
And Rome took all the culture of Greece
Right.
and the proximity to Africa and became an empire.
Right.
But then Rome was taken over. And Rome was taken over by the Roman Catholic Church.
There you go. And the Roman Catholic Church is an empire.
But the Roman Catholic Church is the ultimate empire
Right.
because the Roman Catholic Church was the empire that controlled all empires.
Right. That's exactly right. People, history, you got to know. I mean, because look at the Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
It's a corporation.
Correct.
It's one of the
Correct.
largest corporations
Correct.
in the world.
Correct.
Bigger than Amazon.
Correct. Bigger than anything
Yep.
because the Roman Catholic Church didn't control Rome.
Right.
It controlled Rome and France
Right.
and Portugal and England.
could control
and,
all of Europe.
It controlled the world.
Yeah, control the
controlled the world. God made me king.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Spain. What's his face? Charlemagne.
Charlemagne,
The first Roman. What's he called? Not emperor, but
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire.
Right,
That's
right.
what they call it, the
Right,
Holy
Holy
Roman
Ro-
Empire.
right.
That was Charlemagne.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the deal that Isabella and Ferdinand made with Rome and the Borgias was the deal that sent Columbus over here in the first place.
Right.
And they were in a they were in a property dispute
Right.
with Portugal.
Right.
Because and both of them answered to the Pope of Rome.
Right.
Spain answered to the Pope of Rome. Portugal answered to the Pope of Rome.
But the people don't understand, the Vatican
Right.
is a country of its own. Even though it's in Italy, it's still their own country because they have their own currency.
That is correct.
They have their own
That
currency.
is correct. But it wasn't just the country, and it wasn't just an empire.
Right.
It was the empire that controlled all empires.
Right. And they mind screwed you with thinking that the Pope is the almighty end of all, be of all.
Well, that's the thing. The Pope is infallible.
Right.
The Pope is infallible.
But-
on issues relating to the church, and basically issues relating to the church is any issue he decides.
That's exactly right.
You know.
That's exactly. That's
so
like
if
they
he
say,
decides you can't eat
That-
frankfurters on Friday,
Then you don't eat it.
Then that's the same as Jesus telling you can't
But-
eat it.
but
and that was a business decision.
But
that was
you
a
think-
business decision.
but
That
you-
was a business deal between him and the fishing industry.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But the people bought into it.
Correct.
They were controlled by that.
Correct.
Because if you are a God-fearing person
Correct.
and you understand the Bible,
Correct.
the Bible said, "Don't put any man before me."
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Where did God say
Well,
there was an intermediate between him and between God and man?
um,
Who can give you absolution?
if man wasn't a dumb SOB, we wouldn't even need a show.
That's true. That's true.
If he wasn't so gullible and stupid, we wouldn't even need a show. Yeah.
He said it.
I'd
He said it.
I'd be the one in the White House.
And I'd be his chief of staff.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Soon to be the president.
Don't scare people, man, because you know we can do that, right?
But this is colonialism. When you ask questions, when you start looking up stuff, it takes you back further and farther.
Right.
And you got to ask questions.
Right.
Because things don't make sense
right,
until you
right, ask questions. Right.
Say how,
But your curiosity would be going, well, what made that happen?
And then some of the answers you realize
You'd be like-
are stupid answers, but nobody asked the question,
Right.
so
They-
they
so
don't
it was.
understand that it's a
Right.
stupid answer.
But the thing of it is, that's the scary part. When you go back and you're thinking it's something really complicated,
Right,
and it
right.
turned out to be something stupid.
Right.
So
right,
what do?
right,
You're in shock going, nah.
Right.
You know why?
Right.
People didn't question.
Have you ever wondered? And I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just looking at the answers that my research is taking me to.
Right.
That sounds crazy. I'm not even talking about what Dr. Ben said
Right.
or what Dr. Clark said or
Right,
what
right.
Dr. Jeffrey said. I'm talking about what white folks wrote down themselves. That sound crazy to me.
Right.
Ask the question. I asked the question because they're always talking about the Jews in bondage in Egypt.
Right.
And so for the first time, and I'm an old man now, I asked the question. I had never asked the question before. I've always accepted what they said. Never asked the question. So I finally asked the question, how the hell did the Jews end up in Egypt?
Right. Right.
Because we're talking North Africa. How did they end up from where you say Palestine
was right,
and
right.
ended up in
In Egypt.
Egypt? The answer that I got is crazy. It's crazy. The answer that I got was, and I gotta get another answer from someone else because this answer is crazy to me.
Because I got the same answer you got. I'm coming up with the same answer you will.
They said that there was a famine.
Right.
And 70 of them, 70, 70,
Right, right.
went from Jerusalem or
Yep.
Palestine
Yep.
into North
Africa.
Africa.
Yep.
That's a nice little trip.
Right, it's a hell of a trip. Right.
70 of them. And they said in 430 years, there was 3 million. That's a whole lot of that's a whole lot of baby making.
That's impossible.
Right.
That's impossible.
Right. From 70 to 3
But
million.
nobody questioned that.
And then they said, and because it was 3 million, Pharaoh freaked out and said he was going to enslave the 3 million Jews. This is a crazy answer.
That doesn't make sense. But nobody
That doesn't
questioned.
make sense. First of all, are you saying that you had 430 years of famine?
Right.
Why did y'all keep coming?
Right. Why would?
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
How long did the famine last?
Right. Because I'm saying, if I can show up in the company,
Right.
I'm not coming because you're
Right.
starving.
Right.
Why don't I
Right.
stay where
Right.
I am?
Also, if you know anything, if you've seen any hurricane in Florida or any place, there's a whole bunch of people that ain't leaving their homes. I don't give a rat's ass what you say is coming at them.
Right.
You
They're
can say a
gonna say-
tornado is coming.
That's-
They put some sand.
Right,
there.
right,
I ain't
right.
going
And blow it
nowhere.
up the windows,
This is
right.
My daddy lives here.
Right.
You
My
know.
daddy's daddy lived
right,
here, and
right.
I'm not giving it up.
Now, conversely, and the same 400 years, even a little more, when you consider that the slaves started coming in around 1500, right?
Yeah, right, 15
the turn of the 16th century. Yeah, not long. Not even. It might not even have been that long. Like a few years after Columbus discovered the New World.
Right, the New World, right.
It was on like neck bones.
All like popcorn, bro.
Like popcorn. Kill me. I tell you I couldn't hide the black. And it's old school black too. Neck bones. They said that during the time till about 18 something, 12 million Africans were brought here, and I'm talking about everywhere.
Right.
12 million, 10 million of which made it, and now in the year 2019, it's up to 30 million. They keep saying 30 million.
That's it.
Okay, now
the
let me
question
get this
asked.
straight.
Right,
Let me get this straight. You brought in Africans.
Right.
10 million. You brought in 10 million Africans.
No, you brought in 12 million and 10 million survived.
Right.
Yeah.
But you had 10 million Africans. And you're making money off of the Africans, so you're getting them to breed.
Right.
Make as many babies as humanly
Right.
possible.
So I can
and
enslave them
in 4
too.
years,
Right.
and in 400 years, it's multiplied. The number of Africans have multiplied 3 to 1. Okay, going from 10 million to 30 million.
Right.
However, you had Jews, Israelites leave Israel, 70 of them.
Right.
70 of them.
And then you got eight, was it 18
And you've
million?
gone from 7 to
7-0.
Right.
7-0.
7-0, not
Right,
7,000,
right.
not
Just plain
700.
old 7.
7-0.
Right.
And in 400, and the same amount of time that it took the Africans to breed 3 to 1,
Right.
Under fear of death.
Right.
Jews voluntarily bred
right.
at what is that? What is that? It's like 500,000 to 1. Or,
Right.
It's a
ridiculous.
crazy number.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Right, it's impossible.
It's
Right.
impossible.
It's impossible.
And you're also telling me that Pharaoh waited until it was 3 million of yours before he decided that, it's too many of them. We got to do something about that.
But if you look at the answer. Look, it's not something you made up.
I didn't get this from
Right,
this from black
right, no,
historians.
right.
This is y'all stuff. This just me asking the question. I didn't even know where this was going to lead.
Right.
I'm just asking, well, how did y'all end up in Africa?
Right.
You keep telling me, tell Pharaoh to let us go. How did Pharaoh get you?
Right. You came.
Right.
You came on your own.
Right.
You weren't.
Right.
You weren't.
Right.
You didn't come.
Right.
You didn't come involuntary.
And you got so cozy that somehow 70 of y'all ended up 3 million of y'all.
But that doesn't. But you know what? The people the scary part is that the Jews believe that.
You don't need you don't need evidence for biblical kind of stuff. You just need faith.
Right.
Okay, fine. I'm not going to argue with any of that stuff.
Right.
The fact is that you have two different groups of people sharing a plot of land right now that is Palestine and Israel.
And Israel, right.
You need to figure out a way that you can live together without putting the Palestinians in. And when you go back to Palestine, you realize it's not just 1948.
No,
the
right.
first conference about Palestine was after World War I.
That's right.
In 1920.
Right,
Not 1948.
Right.
It was after the First World War. That was the first UN conference on Palestine. So this is a 100-year-old problem.
But they still can't coexist. They can't coexist.
You keep pretending that the Palestinians were never there.
But there was the Palestinians first.
The Palestinians were the ones that never left.
Right. The Palestinians
Remember I
first,
talked
right.
about hurricanes,
Right.
and there's people who
just
I
won't
don't
leave.
care,
Right.
tsunami coming,
Right. I'm
we
still
just put
staying.
more sandbags. They had a place in California. This just getting washed away from high tide. They ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
They tried to put a referendum on. They tried to get them people to move. They're not going anywhere. This is their homes. They say, this is nature. Nature will be fine.
But
we'll be
common
fine.
sense is not so common. And it's not even common sense. What you're telling me is impossible.
And it's hard to get people to leave their true homes. You know, when grandma gets old, grandma is old, she's in the house she's been in all her life, all the people she knows is there. You want grandma to come live with you at the mansion. She ain't want to go.
Nope.
She ain't going nowhere.
Nope. you guys, Grandma is staying there.
This is
Y'all
her
want to see
castle.
Grandma? We want to see
Right.
Grandma?
This
We're
is
gonna
her castle.
Right.
That's right.
Where she feels comfortable.
That's right.
The
That's
only
right.
way she will leave
You got
is
to
in
roll her ass out in
or
her
that,
bed.
in a cot, in a coffin. That's the only
One
way
way
she
or
will
the other,
leave.
you got to roll her out. She got to not be able to fight you anymore. You got the tube coming out her mouth, and you're rolling her bed down the road. You know.
And she's still fighting you.
She's still fighting you. She's still fighting you. Florence Rice was in her 90s before they found a way to get her out. And
That
I
wasn't
think it made her
until a
older.
couple of years ago.
That was a couple of years ago.
And she's still kicking.
She's still kicking.
She
As a
left
matter of fact-
kicking.
As a matter of fact, leaving her family and friends behind, leaving her life behind, I think accelerated the aging process
That's exactly right.
more than her
That's right.
being the world famous warrior that she's been
So, Miss
since she
Rice-
was a teenager.
Miss Rice came down here on her
Right,
own
right.
every week.
I was always on time.
Always on-
I mean, like
Sometimes I'm not even on time, and
I
she gets here
mean,
first.
I would get here to do a show. I would get here like a half hour ahead of. She'd be sitting right there.
But
She'd be
she's
sitting
a
right
true
there.
warrior. She was a true warrior.
In the rain, in the snow. She fell in the snow
Yep.
one time. They took her to the hospital. She didn't miss her next show.
She was consistent.
didn't-
She did that for how many years, Nat?
She followed her cues. She was the
Yep.
most professional person
Yep.
I've ever dealt with.
When I met her,
it
I was
time
like,
to
I was
go,
in awe. I was in awe.
She's an awe-inspiring
Right,
person.
right.
She really,
'Cause she went
really
through
is.
it. She went through
You know, she's the most professional person I've ever
Right,
met.
right, absolutely.
I do a whole lot of shows.
Right.
I can't get them bastards to get their ass here on time to save my life. None of them come on time. The women don't come on time. The damn men come on time. They all think they superstars. They all ain't a pimple on her behind. They really need to have taken some workshops from Florence Rice
Right.
because none of them could ever shine her shoes.
Right.
Her
That's right.
sheer professionalism.
That's right.
Ever,
That's
ever. She'd follow her cues. We didn't even do a
90.
live show.
Right.
When we said cut, she cut. When we said rap, she rapped.
Right. That's right.
Whatever it was, she was a pure
She stayed-
professional.
Yeah.
Consummate professional,
right.
always on time.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the thing about doing a show.
Right,
Like you can't
right.
you can't get everybody
Right,
here
right.
on time. That's
In
one
her
thing.
90s.
Yeah, and she
In her 90s.
She moves better than some people that's half her age.
Oh, they give me an excuse. They tell me about traffic. They say they fell down in the snow and they made a boo-boo. I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, where do you live? In Minnesota? Because you seem like you fall in the snow every damn week. It's July. How did you fall in the snow
That's
this
true,
week?
though. That's true. Because I used to have a show here.
Right.
And let me tell you, people, it takes a lot to do a show.
Right.
But Nat, you do more shows than anybody I know, and he's right. I mean, I'm fortunate because all I got to do is come in and sit down. That's it. If you guys don't see what the editing that goes behind this,
The
and
editing,
this is a
and
live
in the
show.
field.
Yeah.
We in the field. We do a live show. Then we
Go out to-
behind the scenes
Yep.
do another live
Show,
show.
right.
We go out in the field.
Right, shoot it.
We go on location.
Yep.
We travel to different countries.
Yep.
We have multiple hosts.
Right.
As a matter of fact, at this point in time, I don't think there's any group of people who produces
Nobody. No, I don't think anybody.
Yeah, the level of work, the sheer magnitude of work, and the quality of the work
Right.
that we do.
And
I
the quality,
really don't,
the quality, the intro was
Yeah.
shot on 4K.
Right.
Handheld.
Right.
Handheld.
Yeah, handheld. I just
Handheld.
walked up on it, and put my stuff out. I didn't even have my XLRs. They
Right,
all
right,
have
right,
microphones
right.
and whatnot.
And
I was using it-
tripods.
Right. I just had I didn't have a tripod. I just walked up on it and it was happening. And I said, well, cool.
But guys, let me just while I'm thinking about it. Every week, every Friday, you see us on Tuesdays. But just to let you know, we have a radio show that's on Fridays at 7 p.m. It's called Conversations with Greg Lassiter, and that would GRadioNYC.com. You guys search us. We want you guys to call us. It's the same thing we have here. We talk about solutions, and it's live. It is live. It's not taped. It's live. Call in. Because we used to have this. This show used to be able to call here. Now you can call our shows there. Somebody just texted me. GRadioNYC.com. Conversations with Greg Lassiter and Nat Wood. Fridays, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been voting a very long time. It took a while to get sophisticated enough to make an informed decision based upon my circumstances. One of the problems is that we, especially poor people, people who don't have access to the finest education systems.
But
Even with us, a lot of middle-class people are not that informed because their primary goal is not excellence, it's assimilation.
Right.
So
and that's a big people.
they put their faith in the system more than they put
But that's what we have
themselves
to
in.
change, Nat.
Right.
You know, we don't need to assimilate with anybody.
We've already assimilated. We've been assimilated since we've been here. Listen. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Pay close attention. Black women breastfed white babies.
Right.
I don't know how much more integrated you can get.
Right.
I don't know what you could possibly do to be more integrated than that. Sally Hemings' mother, Betty Hemings, was a broodmare, a breeding machine. She was not a field Negro
Right.
or a house Negro
Right.
per se. She was a breeding machine to breed light-skinned babies. And the only thing that had any true value in slavery in terms of light-skinned things would be the females.
Right.
Because light-skinned dudes that don't work well in the field. You know, that's why they made Sally Hemings' brother the damn chef. What else he gonna do? There's an Access legend that passed that nobody has mentioned.
Yeah.
Vinnie Vella, passed away. That was my man. I dug Vinnie. He was a cool dude.
He was like 70-something.
Right.
Fonzie died at 77, but he was a huge Trump supporter. You know that, right?
They all Trump support. Anytime white man get old, he turn back into the real white man.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's funny you say that because that's what really happens.
That's what happens. Clint Eastwood, Chuck Norris, all them cats. The dude who played Superman.
I know you're talking about.
Not the dead Superman,
No,
but
I know you're talking about. The original one.
No.
Christopher Reeve?
No.
Christopher?
It was on TV, but it was like before Smallville. Lois and Clark was the thing.
Right.
But he went Trump supporter. There's a couple of like white Latinos that went Trump supporter.
Crazy.
The white Venezuelan guy who came to any white person who was able to come to America, especially if they could make a lot of money from being cute.
But you know what? That's funny you say that because when I was down in Florida teaching school, a lot of Cubans are racist.
Because and it's funny, but it's not funny.
No, right.
Because the Cubans in Florida was the white Cubans.
Right.
That owned all the plantations that had to get the hell out of Dodge.
Right.
And they've done extremely well in Florida.
Yes,
so they got a whole bunch of money.
Right.
And
That's
they're
right.
in Florida and they could be, I guess they just want their plantations back. I guess that's the same, white folks is going through I miss my plantation
Phase, right?
phase. They really are. They're all going through this phase where they miss the old days, you know, Lady Antebellum.
Right.
They miss.
But we got it. We have to still keep moving forward.
We have to keep moving forward.
Let them
we
do.
have
Let
to keep
them be.
moving
Let
forward.
them be them. But we have to remain steady.
And we cannot rely on them to educate us in a manner sufficient for us to compete with other groups of people. We are going to have to do that. We are going to have to educate our children to a degree where they are able to compete and win against an adversarial
System.
Right. System, because there's only one way to beat them.
Right.
And we are sitting in Frankenstein's brain.
Right.
Nobody can defeat them from without.
Right.
Only. That's why they scared of the caravan.
Right.
They don't want too many of you brown people coming in and going to college and joining the
Educate
military.
yourself.
Right.
And
And
that's
running the Pentagon and being the
I
president.
wanna say this. Don't, just because someone says it,
Right.
don't
Right.
do your own homework.
Right.
Yeah, guys, we sit here.
Right.
Don't listen to us because we say it.
Right.
Confirm that we are right.
Correct. I keep saying research.
Right.
I never said believe me, but believe me. I
right.
said research.
Right. Do
Look
your
these
own.
things up. Ask the questions. Take some logic when you're dealing with this stuff.
Because when you start asking the question,
Right,
it
right.
gets, you educate yourself more and more.
And things don't happen by osmosis.
Right.
There are things that happen to make things happen
Thank you.
Keep going back to what
Right.
happened.
Right.
Don't think that things just happened.
Right.
Like one day we just woke up free and, and everything is better.
Right.
No.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
I want to say this, guys.
We got 2 minutes.
I want you guys to come listen to us at Conversation with Greg Lassiter and Nat Wood. Friday, 7 p.m., GRadioNYC.com from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember this, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you are still among the stars. And I'm Greg Lassiter. You get to say the last words, brother.
And remember, if you want your children educated, and I'm talking about black and brown children, if you want your children educated to the degree that they can compete and succeed in an adversarial environment in this system, the only way that's going to happen is if you take control of the situation personally. You have to make sure that they are empowered with the knowledge that they need to succeed. All of this stuff that we talk about is stuff that they don't want you to know. But everything that we talk about is stuff that will make you stronger than your adversary.
That's right.
To be able to do the research will make you stronger than your adversary. You're already over here. You're already positioned
Right.
to destroy white supremacy. You just don't have the weapons.
That's right.
The only way you're going to have those weapons is to take control of your situation from the cradle.
That's right.
I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Right.
We'll see you next week in the
Right.
street,
Right.
on the
You
bus,
can
the
find-
subway, wherever. And until then, I guess
We're out.
peace.
Thank you,
yeah?
babe. It's
Oh,
always good.
brother, It's always good.
It's always good.
It's
Guys,
always
look
good.
for us on Fridays. Conversations with Greg Lassiter and Nat Wood. GRadioNYC.com. And I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you
And
too.
don't just vote for a black face. Make sure choose them crocodiles
Right.
when them dogs is on your butt. We out.
Oh my goodness.
I have to tell you something. After we got this building landmarked, then Borough President Scott Stringer, now controller, and I wrote many letters to LPC saying this was demolition by neglect. At the time, they inspected and they said, no, everything is fine. I don't think the city has continued to inspect. In 2006, shortly after landmarking, he tore off the dormers. And look at those tarp that he put on the dormers. He didn't replace the dormers. The tarps are falling off. Since Sandy, they've been falling off. So that looks like neglect to me. Greg Singer will tell you he doesn't get the permits to do what he needs to do. He's not getting the permits to convert this into housing or dorms. But he doesn't need actually, he can apply and get a permit to do emergency work. That he's not applying for because he just wants to irritate the community, neglect this building, and be a bad neighbor. So shame on you, Greg Singer, and this community doesn't go away. We're going to stand here. We've been here for 20 years and hope not to be here for 20 more. Hope to be inside this building.